Good morning, everyone. My name is Melanie, and welcome back to A Slice of Heaven Homestead. Today I wanted to talk to you about growing carrots. Now, carrots are considered to be a cool weather vegetable. You want to plant them in the very late winter, early springtime, and also again at the very tail end of summer and early fall. You can grow carrots in the summertime, however, the really hot weather tends to make them bolt faster, which makes for a very tiny root as far as the carrot goes. Now, if you like to have fresh carrots at your disposal anytime you want, it's a good idea to stagger the times that you sow your seeds. So sow a batch of seeds, and then 3 weeks later sow another batch of seeds, and so on and so forth. And then you will always have fresh, ready carrots. So what I did is I just sprinkled seeds all around on the top of the 5-gallon buckets, covered the top with just the thinnest layer of fine potting soil. And as those seedlings started sprouting up, then I thinned off the ones that were in a big bunch. When they are super small, when they first start coming up, you can try and transplant them into different spaces. So if there was a big group of carrot seedlings in one space, I did try and gently transplant them over to sections that didn't have any seedlings in them. And that seemed to work pretty well. As they get bigger, they don't like to be moved. So they're not a good seed starter for inside. Generally, you just want to start them outside. So if you are planting in buckets, the buckets tend to need to be watered a little bit more often than if you are planting directly into the ground, and that's because the water drains out of the pots real quick, and also evaporates from the top. Now, when you first plant your seedlings in your 5-gallon buckets, you don't want to have any kind of mulch on top, or it will end up killing any of those little plants that do germinate. So when your seedlings are probably about 2 or 3 inches of foliage on top, that's when you want to add some sort of mulch. I prefer just dried dead leaves just because it's free. It does make a really great mulch on top. It helps to lock in the moisture into the dirt, so it doesn't need to be watered as often. But also in my 5-gallon buckets, I do have a watering system that's hooked up to a timer. It just gives it a good little drink for, I think, 5 minutes a day. Each of these hoses has several holes punched into it, so it does get a good drink every day. Now this year I did a couple things different that I have never done before. The first was I have never gardened in 5-gallon buckets before. Now, being out here in Japan and on a military base, we are not allowed to dig up our yards to build a garden. So I had to come up with a different way of being able to grow my own food. This year, almost all of my garden was planted in these grow pots, these 5-gallon grow pots. They are made out of a fabric material which allows the roots to breathe and to not be waterlogged. I think it was just a great success this year with these grow pots. I would definitely recommend them for people that don't have a lot of space to garden, or even just want some pretty plants on their patio. They worked out really well. Now, another great thing about these grow pots is they have really loose soil in them, perfect for the carrots, I think. Now, I'll go ahead and link my my video of where I was mixing up all of the soil for the grow pots. There's several different things to incorporate, which makes the soil very loose, but also able to retain a good amount of water so that they don't dry out very quickly. Now, when I planted my carrots here in September, I did stagger my planting by a few weeks each. These carrots are definitely not done yet. They are still going, but they still need a little bit more time to grow. Now, when I did first plant my carrots, I went ahead and amended the soil in these pots and fertilized it with a nice even fertilizer, a 10-10-10. Now, in that same video that I linked before, the one with the soil recipe that I used to make these 5-gallon buckets and the very loose soil, I believe in that video I also have a description of what those numbers on a fertilizer packet means. There's always 3 numbers. Now, those 3 numbers are always nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The nitrogen helps with leaf growth and foliage. The phosphorus helps with root growth and flowering. And then the potassium helps with chlorophyll and photosynthesis and getting water from the roots to the leaves and where it needs to go. Now, one thing that is crucial when planting in these 5-gallon buckets is you do have to fertilize your plants a little bit more often than if the plants were planted directly into the ground, just because water goes through those pots and washes away all the nutrients. So after your first initial fertilizing of an even fertilizer, like a 10-10-10, you're going to want to go to something like a 5-15-15. You want to cut back on that nitrogen just a little bit, because you want the plant not to focus on shooting out so many greens, but you want to focus on the roots, and that's where the phosphorus comes in. It will help those roots, which is the carrot, the part that you eat, to grow big. Now, you want to make sure to harvest carrots before they start to bolt. When they bolt, they shoot up that one big long stalk and start to get ready for flowering, for making seeds. And when the plant does that, it sucks all the nutrients from the roots into energy for making that flower and making the seeds. So by the time your carrot has started to bolt, it's too late. All the nutrients and the sweetness and what makes a carrot delicious and good is gone, because that plant has put all that energy into now making the flower. These have no signs of bolting, so they are just right for harvesting. Now, it might be a little hard to see. Here we go. Yeah, all of these are crowning. They look great. They're big enough. Some are smaller than others. Some are huge. This one is huge. It's like 2.5 inches across. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest this whole bucket today, and we'll see how we did. Now, like I say, this is the first year that I've gardened, 1, in these buckets, and 2, it's the first year that I've ever planted carrots as a fall harvest. This was my very first, sorry, not fall harvest, fall garden. So this was my very first fall garden that I planted this year. And typically I had planted carrots when you plant everything else and then grow through the summer, and I've never had really great successes with carrots until I found out that they are a cool weather crop, and they do like the cooler weather more so than the blazing hot summers. So I'm really excited to see what we've got in these pots. We have been harvesting carrots probably for about a month now, just harvesting one here and there when we needed it. So I'm really interested to see what I've got growing in that bucket. That's not too bad. That's actually a really nice looking carrot. Last one. Wow. Beautiful. So I am definitely floored by how many carrots. All of these carrots came out of this one bucket. This is about 1 foot by 1 foot circle. I would say that is a pretty good test. And I'm sold on the idea of growing carrots in buckets now. This has been the easiest time that I've ever had with harvesting carrots, and really just taking care of them until they can actually be of a harvestable size. This is a good experiment. Now, if you are planning on storing your carrots in like a root cellar or a pantry for a later time, it's probably not a good idea to wash that dirt off. Just go ahead and leave the dirt on there. It'll actually help to protect those carrots from rot. Now, what I'm planning on doing is blanching and then freezing a lot of these carrots, just because I don't have any of my canning stuff. Otherwise, I would go ahead and can some carrots for like stews and things like that. But all of my canning stuff is in storage, and I do not have a big pantry. So I've got to do something with this massive load of carrots while I can. So blanching and freezing, and then probably eating some fresh. Guys, spread a little kindness and encourage one another today. If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. And until next time, we hope you find your slice of heaven too.